Hello, welcome to Animalotic Corner. This week is Mental Health Awareness Month, where we can overcome any obstacles in front of us in any circumstances in front of us. We can do it together. Now let's get into our story and put light into the story. Scientology has a huge effect on mental illness, was raised with various sources as critics and former Scientologists. The organization is known to being against any kind of regular medication when it comes to mental illness. Then normally common psychiatric and counseling, psychiatry and any kind of counseling to them are enemies of the organization that they call a church. They would think psychiatry is psychiatry is Scientology's industry of death. Scientology loves to destroy everyone's mental health. Then David Miscavige and Tom Cruise will kill your soul at the end. Scientology would destroy mental illness through hypnosis, a form of brainwashing that changes your thought process. This would control the way members think, behave, and move when they walk. They also change their original beliefs whether they're Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, Wicca, or the form of Jewish faith. Then they would start to program them like they were robots and tell them now how to live. Scientology will also prevent their members prevent them from getting any kind of mental health treatment. Which would cause death like Lisa McPherson's and Whitney Mills because of the brainwashing that they use. And then when the mental health starts to surface, their symptoms will spiral out of control. Scientology makes use of auditing and all their training methods that critics would argue drown them from hypnotists hypnotherapy or whatever it is they call it, in an effort to induce serious suggestible and adapted their own concept. That cult produced their own social environment that puts procedure on the group and influence all their members to accept the beliefs and practices that they put out. Robert Lifton's model and his ideal political theory that includes a personality with a social setting that controls, which has Scientology's power to brainwash people. The organization trains on a routine basis, especially when it comes to communication courses that are practiced each and every time. They would increase their approach to all shape their emotions and their behavior, along with everyone's thought process. The memory would maintain a certain way when the brain engrams reserves that would expresses negative trauma. It's critical to know that Scientology had denied ever using hypnosis or brain washing and said that they never use hypnotism. This would destroy a human being's identity by fracturing their brain. The cult will also say that it will not let anyone use hypnosis on being involved in training programs. One uses hypnosis or be involved in training anyone to harm a person. But ultimately, if all the Scientologists break free from the cycle and get real treatment by psychiatrists, then they will have a whole new freedom. Then they will get the real treatment that they need. Then they will get better. And that organization that's against any kind of medication when it comes to mental health, then their treatment will be fine, even though there's no real cure for mental illness. Then after the programming from Scientology will stop and their lives would go back to normal or go at a different pace if they were born into it. That cult won't produce any more of their own social environment that puts pressure on any group and influence on anybody to accept any evil beliefs and practices. That organization's training routines, especially when it comes to communication courses that are practiced each and every day, then they won't increase their approach to shaping their emotions and their behaviors along with everyone's thought process anymore. And in conclusion, the memories won't maintain any negative trauma. And that would be the story on mental illness and Scientology. Now, Joy Vila has a brand new show called the Joy Vila Show. And she talks about her own experience with Scientology and their control mechanisms. And of course, other religions partaked in it too, even though some Christian religions are known to also be cults. And Joy Vila really told her story on how she was controlled by Scientology and how Kirstie Alley died when she told every viewer or the commentators that were on her program on how much Scientology made her suffer, even though they might make claims that they never did it. But by the time Kirstie Alley would go for any treatment, it would be too late. Her cancer progressed to stage 4, and it was too late for her to get any treatments. And that's also how Scientology controls other people. They also get people to put up put a second mortgage on their house to pay for courses and to dip into their kids' college account and go into their savings. And then once they found out what they were doing, they would leave. And they were thinking, is this what I put my house up for a second mortgage? And according to Aaron Smith Levin, they did. They put up their houses on a second mortgage to pay for courses. And of course, David Miscavige would devour it. He would keep it for himself. And Tom Cruise would put up 1% of his earnings from his movies to pay for Scientology. Now, he's going to think it goes to drug rehabilitation programs and reading programs, which in reality, it's not. And of course, all the other Scientologists who happen to be celebrities would put up a lot of their own money to pay, to donate. And that's where most of the donations are coming from. The celebrities themselves. Even though it's a small group of people, they manage to crank up the cash. And of course, Leah Remini gave up $3 million of her cash to Scientology. Now, she does regret doing it. And she actually came out of Scientology and she started swinging and put a lawsuit on Scientology. But there were other celebrity Scientologists that left. Mimi Rogers, who happens to be Tom Cruise's ex-wife, left the cult. And she was in that cult since she was a child. She left. But she never spoke out against Scientology. But instead of filing a lawsuit, she would say, according to her, I'll leave you alone if you leave me alone. Which was great. But will they leave her alone? That is foreseen. And Scientology ruins families and marriages at the end. Tom Cruise even disconnected himself from his only biological daughter and making up excuses for that. He didn't go to her graduation. He didn't go to any of her parties. And he hasn't birthday party. He didn't even go to his own biological child's 18th birthday. Instead, he went to Victoria Beckham's birthday party, which was a total selfish thing to do. And now she wants to go from being Cruise to Noel. She wants to call herself Surrey Noel instead of Surrey Cruz. Why? I guess because of this connection, but or it could be for another reason, and she wants to actually not known for being Tom Cruise's daughter or Katie Holmes's daughter, and wants to create of an identity in her own way in the business. But who knows? Because usually things like that happen because kids who want to actually be in the same business as the parents in the movie industry, they would be known for being their child and not have their own identity. And that could be the reason. But who knows what the situation is? It could be that situation or the situation that he cut himself off from his own biological child. That could be it too. It could be various reasons. And then at the end, Scientology would ruin more lives, more careers, because guess what? They would make a person lose their job for speaking out against them. Now, what kind of church would do that? Not the normal ones. Definitely not. So, at the end, Scientology's numbers would dwindle. And then at the end, would Scientology still be around? Well, we'll find out eventually. And this is Animal Audit Corner. And in conclusion, press the subscribe button down below and give it a like. See you tomorrow, maybe Monday.